We are supposed to move together. We are supposed to consider the best issue of economic development. We have no brothers. We have no fathers. We are supposed to move as Africans. Africa should move on their own. They are supposed to change the directions. We are supposed to focus according to our directions, according to our environments.
This is the journey to one Africa.
Africa, a continent of immense beauty, rich in natural resources and bursting with a young, vibrant population. From the vast deserts of the Sahara to the lush rainforests of the Congo Basin, Africa holds some of the world's most valuable minerals: gold, diamonds, oil, cobalt, copper, and rare earth elements that power the global economy. Yet, despite this incredible wealth, Africa remains one of the poorest continents on Earth. Why? This is a story of influence, debt, power, and control. This is the untold story of how three dominant nations have quietly embedded themselves in Africa's economy, controlling trade, influencing governments, and reaping vast profits, while the continent's potential remains untapped.
What kind of generosity is this? The kind that feeds the mouth but silences the voice. The kind that keeps a man alive just enough to keep him dependent. We are not blind to this hypocrisy. Let me be clear, we are not ungrateful for sincere humanitarian assistance, but we reject a global order that disguises exploitation as partnership. We reject financial institutions that lend with one hand and steal sovereignty with the other. Africa no longer wants charity. We want justice. We want control over our own destinies. Too on the chains of colonialism and its modern descendants. Our wounds did not begin with us. They were inherited legacies of an empire-building madness that saw us not as humans, but chi as cargo labor tools.
Our journey begins in the East, with China, a powerful country whose presence in Africa has grown faster than ever before. From big buildings to huge roads and railways, you can see China's work everywhere. But behind these big projects, there are complicated loans and deals that have changed Africa's economy in ways many people don't fully understand. China has loaned Africa over $150 billion in the last 2 decades, mostly under its Belt and Road Initiative. But these loans come with strings attached. For example, if a country struggles to repay, China can demand control of strategic assets. A key example is Djibouti's port, built and financed by China, which now serves as a major commercial and military hub for Chinese interests in the Horn of Africa. Its strategic location controls shipping routes between Asia, Africa, and Europe. In Kenya, the Standard Gauge Railway, SGR, project cost over $3 billion, mostly financed by Chinese loans. However, the cost has pushed Kenya into a debt trap, while most procurement and skilled labor comes from China. Local workers often fill only lower-paying roles. China also dominates in buying raw materials like copper from Zambia, rare minerals from Congo, and oil from Angola, keeping African economies dependent on commodity exports. The United States, a global superpower with big business interests across Africa. From technology companies to oil giants, American firms play a major role in Africa's economy. But beyond business, the U.S. also uses trade deals, military bases, and even visa restrictions to control its influence. Recently, some African countries have faced tougher visa rules, limiting their ability to enter the U.S., which affects business, education, and diplomacy. Through these means, the U.S. shapes how African countries trade, grow, and secure their futures. The United States wields power through financial programs like AGOA, African Growth and Opportunity Act, which allows duty-free access for African goods into the U.S. market. This benefits exporters, but creates an uneven playing field as Africa imports more advanced American goods in return. U.S. multinational companies such as Google, Facebook, Coca-Cola, ExxonMobil, and Chevron dominate key African commerce, but also digital and cultural landscapes. Militarily, the U.S. maintains strategic bases like Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, vital for counterterrorism and securing maritime trade routes. Additionally, the U.S. exerts influence via international financial institutions like the IMF and World Bank, which often attach policy conditions to aid and loans. Through media, education, and culture, the U.S. also spreads soft power, educating thousands of African students annually and exporting entertainment that shapes perceptions and aspirations. But to France, a country with deep historical ties to many African nations, France still controls the currency used by 14 countries in West and Central Africa, which limits their economic freedom. French companies dominate important industries like oil, telecom, and transport, sending much of the profits back to France. Alongside business, France maintains military bases in several African countries, keeping its influence strong and shaping the region's politics and security. French companies such as Total Energies, oil, Orange, telecom, and Bolloré, logistics, dominate sectors critical to African economies. These firms repatriate substantial profits, limiting reinvestment in local development. France's military presence in countries like Mali, Chad, Niger, and Ivory Coast under security cooperation agreements maintains its influence, often framed as peacekeeping, but also protecting French economic interests. This arrangement reflects a modern form of colonial control that continues to shape Africa's economic landscape. After seeing how these global powers have positioned themselves within Africa's economy, one thing becomes clear. While their involvement brings development, it also leaves African nations facing serious challenges. As we step back and look at the bigger picture, the question of Africa's future becomes even more important. The question remains, can African countries break free from this cycle and build a future that relies on their own strength, without depending on outside powers?
We are supposed to move together. We are supposed to consider the best issue of economic developments. We have no brothers. We have no fathers. We are supposed to move as Africans. Africa should move on their own. They are supposed to change the directions. We are supposed to focus according to our directions, according to our environments. That is the only way we can help our people. Nobody should come and say that he's there to solve the problems of our people. We are the one, we leaders, we are supposed to change the directions as far as economic is concerned for our people. And the only solution is to move together by considering God is the one and the powerful to direct us in every direction. Your Excellency, I'm just trying to preach, but I can't reach you.
This is the journey to One Africa.